As criminals blaze trails into the heart of Cambodia's most remote mountains, little by little, the forest is being devoured from the inside out. And all to help satisfy the global demand for this little pill. We track their footsteps on a search and destroy mission.
Feels awesome.
They say when you come to Cambodia into the forest, you have to pay a tax. That tax is your blood.
We just heard a few shots fired. Wow. It's so bizarre. It's like a scene from a war movie.
We're currently flying over the central Cardamom's protected forest. So what we're seeing is a huge continuous chain of evergreen forest here. This is the largest intact section of rainforest in Southeast Asia.
This lush, virgin rainforest covers Cambodia's Cardamom Mountains, home to over a dozen endangered species of animals. The Cardamoms are located in a remote corner of the country, but in recent years, it's become more accessible and has started to attract those hungry for its untapped natural resources. Tim Wood is a conservationist who has been monitoring the area in recent years. He's concerned that this pristine habitat is increasingly under siege by poachers and those involved in illegal logging. He brought me to a storeroom filled with evidence.
Pop it up, put a dart in, and then fire the weapon. It's a homemade weapon. Behind us, you can see snares that have been taken from the forest. These are snares that have been taken over the past 3 months. What we're seeing is people using these heavy-duty snares for catching big game that lives up in the mountains.
This is known as the chainsaw room. There are over 130 confiscated chainsaws. These chainsaws have been taken from would-be loggers. Is there a worrying trend about both poaching and destruction of the forest trending upward?
Certainly there is. It's all across Cambodia that we're seeing this very worrying trend.
This surge of illegal forest activities is a relatively new phenomenon in the region. For decades, people stayed clear of the Cardamoms because of its reputation as one of the last strongholds of the Khmer Rouge, a genocidal regime responsible for killing a fifth of Cambodia's population. Once the Khmer Rouge were toppled from power, they retreated to areas near the country's western border, where they laid landmines across the Cardamoms. So people stayed out, and ironically, the forest thrived. But since the fighting stopped, the Cardamoms have gradually been rediscovered. And one tree in particular has drawn the attention of those looking to cash in on Cambodia's riches. The rare Maria Pro tree has a high concentration of a substance called safrole oil.
Prepare for the smell, right?
This pungent golden oil can be used in perfumes and cosmetics.
Want to go to a rave now?
But the sale of safrole oil is most lucrative when it's used for something else.
Safrole can produce ecstasy like MDMA.
This is an ecstasy tablet, and it has a Mickey Mouse looking character on it.
The illegal club drug ecstasy is synthesized from a chemical reaction in which safrole oil is a crucial key ingredient.
This is the necessary ingredient for an ecstasy tablet.
Yes.
Where is this stuff made?
It's stuff made from Holland.
International drug enforcement authorities are concerned that Cambodian safrole oil is now being diverted for manufacturing ecstasy in Australia, Europe, and North America.
For the drug producer, they need it. They use any means to get it.
So, in order to eradicate this little problem, you've got to stop this.
The production and sale of safrole oil is illegal in Cambodia, but that hasn't stopped criminal networks from setting up secret factories where the oil is extracted before being smuggled out of the country.
We just do a circle around here.
Okay.
And Tim finds himself in the unusual position of defending the environment while thwarting an illegal drug trade. He looks for telltale signs like smoke or clearings in the forest canopy.
There's a bit of a clearing down there. That could be a site.
Okay, big clearings underneath us.
Yeah. So we should be right over the top of the factory site now.
Right over the factory
Can we see that?
GPS coordinates of possible factory sites are taken so he can try to find them later on foot. We joined him early the next morning to begin a search.
It's about 4:30 in the morning. We're getting an early start on this bumpy road. So we are going to go as far as this road can take us. And then from there, it's an all-day hike.
Tim patrols the cardamoms with a team of rangers from the Ministry of Environment.
So we're going to cross over Otasok to the first factory site, and we're going to try and find access to these other sites.
The rangers' backpacks are like half the size of ours. We don't do this very often, so we might have overpacked a little bit. All right, so our all-day hike begins, heading into this hot, steaming jungle.
We trailed behind a dozen armed Cambodian forest rangers. Their mission, to find and shut down safrole oil factories hidden in an area 5 times the size of Los Angeles. Armed with GPS coordinates from an aerial survey and a sharp eye for spotting trails, Tim and his team head out into the woods for days at a stretch.
This is the first site, right?
That's the first site that we'll be going to. And then head west and try and pick up some tracks to try and get to these locations here.
Okay.
The hike was challenging, to say the least.
Every step you take, there are leeches everywhere, waiting to suck your blood.
They say when you come to Cambodia into the forest, you have to pay a tax. That tax is your blood.
I just found one. Inside my pants, close to my crotch. There. Things will not die.
No bridge.
No bridge?
Well, we walk in the water.
Okay, good enough.
Come on.
Ooh. Cold. Feels awesome.
After half a day of hiking, we started finding clues that we were getting close to something.
This is the repro tree. This is, I guess, just above the lower trunk.
Yes, that's right.
Generally, how old are these trees?
It's difficult to say. They're several hundred years old.
So we just passed one downed repro tree, and we're getting closer to the site where the oil is being extracted.
The gradual thinning of the forest was one sign a factory was close by. And then we came upon an area that had been utterly clear-cut.
So what are we looking at here?
Where we're at the moment is a standard Maria Pro factory. These chips here. So this is very rich in safrole. Take that over to the pot, and then I use a steam distillation process to draw the oil.
Massive. These are the cut up roots and the lower trunks of the Maria Pro tree. And what you get here are the wood chippings. Smells really, really strong.
The Maria Pro chippings are placed in a giant pot. The shredded tree parts are distilled over a continuous wood-burning fire for 5 days before the oil is extracted.
All of this entire thing right here, this entire part of the hillside, all of the chippings of the Maria Probe tree, and they're dried out, and all of the oil has been extracted through this steam distillation process. All of it here.
The factories are built near streams because a steady supply of water is needed for boiling the tree parts and cooling the distilled oil. But the carcinogenic waste products end up polluting the water.
To be able to run a factory like this, you need a huge amount of firewood. We can see over there where they've cut the Maria Pro timber, and also the firewood is going to cause a lot of erosion.
How many Maria Pro trees does this represent?
Certainly, they could be cutting, one ton per factory per day.
Once the Maria Pro trees are exhausted, the site is abandoned like this one was, and the criminals penetrate deeper and deeper into the forest to start again.
Opina? Sure. It's a spent casing of a bullet from an AK-47. In case some of these guys have weapons and they're using it. If these guys have weapons, that's troubling.
We knew we were honing in on an active operation, but it was getting too dark to venture further, so we set up camp for the night.
One of the rangers told us that we are going to sleep back here. It's like checking into a motel and getting your keys. They're making our home for us. They're making our bed for us. Sort of a light stew over rice. Really good.
Where there's one factory, there's a safe bet you'll see other activities taking place nearby. After breakfast, we set out again.
Just saw what could be another trail leading off this main path, and a couple of the rangers went ahead. It could be a poacher's trail.
This is a snare. Pretty standard run-of-the-mill type of snare.
Conservationists now fear that the cardamoms are falling to a phenomenon called empty forest syndrome, in which poachers deplete a pristine forest of its wildlife.
These trails that we've been following are not wilderness hike trails. These are trails that are left behind by the guys who were involved with running these factories. They've got to move these massive logs and massive machinery, and so in the process, they sort of leave their footprints behind.
Feel the weight of this thing. It'll be used to make a pot. What it could mean is that they're bringing in spare parts, or they're planning to construct a new factory somewhere.
Two guys carry this on their shoulders. That is insane.
Not an easy job.
Human mules are paid about $2.50 a day to lug everything they need to construct a factory on site. Factory workers are often armed in this high-stakes cat-and-mouse game, so the rangers divided up into two groups and approached cautiously.
We just heard a few shots fired, so we're just going to stay put and keep low to the ground till we hear otherwise.
After a few minutes, we were cleared to approach. the Rangers had discovered a site and opened fire on the criminals.
So like 5 guys?
Yeah, because we come here, we see 5 hammocks.
And they just disappeared into the forest?
Sure, yeah.
As you can tell from this fire burning and from this animal being cooked, this place was just lived in. And so now the Rangers are noting everything, cataloging all the belongings left behind.
These factories are run by Vietnamese crime syndicates who hire poor Cambodians for about $25 a month to run the factories.
Before, the Vietnamese were working in Vietnam to extract the oil from those trees, but because they were doing it so much that the trees started to become extinct. And what we found is that they've moved to Cambodia.
The Cambodian workers often have no idea what the oil is used for or how valuable it really is. Even veteran rangers are surprised when they find out.
Enormous. I don't want it to start rolling. This is insane. All of this is hauled in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all in.
So all of the work that goes into this, I mean, it wasn't easy for us even getting here with just our bags. We're talking about guys hauling in these gigantic implements and tools. Why?
There's lots of money to be made, and because of that reason, we find these factories here. We have these little cancers occurring in the forest, which metastasize. But not only that, when they come here, they're associated in other illegal activity as well. As we saw before, they poach for wildlife, they pollute watercourses, and they cut other rainforest trees down too.
I think the Rangers might have found something underneath some of these shavings. So some of the Rangers found the finished product here. This is the safrole oil. This is all the concentrate that's extracted from these fragrant wood chippings.
In the end, the oil is smuggled out of the forest, where it quickly changes hands on the black market. It fetches up to $50 a liter in the capital and $2,000 a liter outside of Cambodia. A single liter of safrole oil can produce 7,000 tablets of ecstasy, worth over $200,000.
So these guys who fled, these guys likely to pick up at another site and keep going?
I would think that they'd be coming back to the site to try and pick up the pieces and start again here. That's why we have to be constantly vigilant and destroy everything.
This has been a strange journey. It's like a scene from a war movie. Like you've stumbled into the jungle and you found the guerrilla camp and now you're destroying it. They're fueling this flame with stores of the safrole oil that they found hidden in this camp. Something very ironic about all of this, but it is seen as a sort of a necessary measure to stamp out the production of this stuff. It's important to note that this activity of extracting the safrole oil has sort of radiating environmental effects, and this unfortunately has to be one of them.
Certainly, drug dealers are wanting to use this oil. The chances are that more people will come in here and they'll cut down these trees that we have here and then extract the oil. So it doesn't look particularly good for the Rio Pro trees.
But it's not just the future of one species of tree at stake. Once there's an opening into the forest, everything in it becomes vulnerable. From the rivers to the animals to the resources not yet discovered. And all because of the demand for a recreational drug, a world away.